Okay, guys, so we're going to go through page 93, question 3. You have done this before midterm, but this is just kind of a trial run for me to see how well the video will work for you. So what we're looking at here is axial symmetry. And so for question 3, shown opposite is a pictogram of a hamburger designed for a restaurant. The image displays axial symmetry across the line LL1. LL1. So it's a broken line going through the middle of the drawing. Using the dimensions provided, reproduce the top of the pictogram. Use axial symmetry across the line LL1 to mirror the pattern to produce the bottom. Now, this particular question gives you the measurements on the bottom. So I think we'll draw the bottom first, and we'll reproduce the bottom half in axial symmetry up on top, which will mean it will be a mirror image, and you will end up with this particular image. But what we don't want to do is just draw this image. We want to produce the bottom half, we want to draw in the axis, and we want to transfer stuff up across the axis in axial symmetry using the line LL1. So let's get started. Measurements are there. Hopefully you have your book in front of you, because when I'm going to move this book away, you won't see the measurements. So we have 100 millimeters wide for the buns of the burger, not the burgers of the burger. And we have a few other measurements here, 20, 15, 3, 10, and 2. Oh, really small measurements, but that's okay. And we might as well start by setting it up. So if we draw the bottom half of the burger, it is going to extend upwards. The total height of half this burger is 20 and 15. So 20 and 15 is 35. So 35, total height of it will be 70. Let's come down maybe 90 millimeters from the top. So we'll zoom out a little bit on the page. That's the wrong way. That's back the right way. Now, hopefully this will focus for us. We're going to work on the top part of the page. So 90 millimeters down, about there. And maybe I'll just zoom in another little bit, because it doesn't get any bigger than this. So about that. Now let's draw a baseline, and we're going to draw our burger on that. Up 20 and 35 millimeters up. So 35 millimeters up. That's going to be our axis, that they called LL1. Now, can we see that? Just about lovely. So down from the axis, we're just going to come down 2 millimeters, 10 millimeters, and then 3 millimeters. So 2 millimeters from 20 is 18. 10 millimeters. And 3 millimeters. And we're going to draw all these lines in lightly. I'm going to pick a point, and I might as well stick it about here. I'm going to make that the middle. If that's the middle, I need to go 50 millimeters either side of it, which will give me the 100. 100. And again, lightly. Now, the 100 millimeters is to the end of the bun, and then we have an arc underneath it. The arc is down 15 from the center. So if I'm at 30 millimeters there, 15 down is indeed on this line, and the radius of that must be 20. So I'm going to measure in here 20. And I'm going to measure in over here 20. 100 into 80, 20. Now, with our compass, I'm going to draw in the ends of the buns. Ends of the bun on the bottom. and we'll flatten that in on top, draw it in. There's the bottom of the bun. We have the bottom and the top of the burger, and it swings out in an arc all the way out, and the radius of that one is 5. It's very, very, very difficult to draw on a compass. You can get a circle template. I don't have one. So we're going to have to just try it with the compass. We swing it around, and it is very difficult. It looks a little fuzzy on the screen there. Apologies. The camera. Ooh, very, very thin. Very, very difficult to draw. And there we have the bottom of the burger. Now, we now need to re-identify our axis, and our axis is just this thin line just slightly higher than the burger bun. We want to transfer everything that's important up across that axis. So every point we want goes 90 degrees to the axis. In this particular case, the axis is horizontal. So 90 degrees to an axis that is horizontal is vertical, but an axis isn't always horizontal or vertical. But in this case, it's nice and easy. Every line is vertical. So every line we need, every point we need, we're going to transfer from the important point up to the axis and out beyond it. Now immediately, we don't care how far out beyond it goes. This is the center point of the arc. We're just going to transfer to the axis and out beyond it. And the other one over here, that point up to the axis and out beyond it. And we don't really care at the minute how far that is. Are they all the important points? I think they are, because the bottom here will form itself. Although just for argument's sake, I'm going to bring these ones that are on the bottom as well. Now after this, we probably shouldn't need to measure anything because it's axial symmetry. Everything gets done with the compass. So I'm going to pick the point on the axis, and I'm going to measure down to the center point, that small center point, or the center point of that small radius that is only 5 millimeters long. There, and we're going to swing that around. You don't need to draw, but you can if you want. The center point above the axis appears there. So let's call this center point, and this becomes center point 1. Well, actually, maybe let's call it center point 1, and it becomes center point 1, 1. Because over this side, it's going to be center point 2. Put the point of the compass on the axis, measure down to the center point, which is the same measurement, and swing it around. Let's call this one center point 2, and it moves to become center point 2, 1 above the line. Let's call this one center point 3, and while we're at it, let's call this one center point 4. So to the axis, point of the compass on the axis, measure down to center point 3, swing the arc around really lightly. You can just barely see my arc from the compass, and this becomes center point 3, 1. Keep the distance on the compass because it hasn't changed. And again, the point goes on the axis. Swing it down, make sure it measures up to center point 4, which it does. Swing it around really lightly. This becomes center point 4, 1 in its new position. The only other 2 points I need are here and here. So let's just call them maybe point A and point B. Immediately up from A, straight up from A, put the point of the compass on the axis. Point of the compass on the axis. Measure down to point A. A swings all the way around really lightly on the compass because we don't want to see it. We only want to see its finish point. This becomes point A1. And again, don't change the distance on the compass. Put the point of it on the axis. Measure down to point B. Swing it around lightly. You can just about see it there. But you don't really want to see it there. You just want to see the new position of point B1. And that's actually it done, guys, believe it or not. Do we need to swing this point? Well, we could. Let's do it. A, B, let's call this one C, and let's call this one D. We actually don't need it because it's going to stop where it stops up here. Let's do it. Point to the compass on the axis, immediately above point C. Measure the distance of the compass from the axis to point C. Swing C around, and this is the point, C1. And the same thing happens over here. Put the point of the compass on the axis. Measure down to point D. Swing D around until it's immediately above it, and there's D1. And now we can fill it all in. Let's start with the bun. In the bun, there's a straight line from C to D. Goes round in an arc to A. There's a straight line from A to B, and it goes round in an arc back to C. So let's find C. There's C. Goes straight across to D. At D, you redraw it in with the center point 1 giving us an arc from D to A. At A, it goes straight across to B. And at B, it swings in an arc down to C1. B1 to C1. There's our bun. And now we need to draw in the burger itself, which is a height of 10 millimeters. There's the center of it. This will, no, that won't be the bottom of it because that's the axis. So we need to be 10 millimeters up, 10 millimeters down, and I haven't actually brought those points. But can't really do this one. You can't really swing that in the compass because it is 2 millimeters. So we're just going to measure that up. 2 millimeters up. If it's 2 millimeters down, it's also 2 millimeters up. So that's the bottom of the burger. And again, ooh, is it worth measuring from the axis down to here? Yeah, I could probably do that. Let's try it. From the axis down to the bottom of the bottom burger. There. Up to what will now become the top of the top burger. And it is possible. It's a bit of fine work on your compass, but it's possible. So do your best with that one. There's the new point. So there's the top of the top burger, goes all the way over to there. And the last bit left is, again, back to our 5 millimeter radius. Very, very small, delicate work with a compass. Can we do it? Oh, it's really, really tight. Yeah, it's very tight, guys. But do your best with it again. 5 millimeter radius. I'm just about getting it in myself. So it's kind of messy. It's very small detail work for an early question for you. But do your best with it. And like I said, those of you who've done this work, you actually have this done already. But the important point to learn from this video is that you need to transfer your points. You can't just redraw it. Because while it's nice and easy today, it's not always as easy. It's not always a vertical movement. It's not always moving from here and flipping up over here. Sometimes it's at an angle, but we'll get to all that in time. There's the burger completed. So when we drew the bottom half, we transferred it all across the axis. Now you can't see the axis there, and that's the way we would like it. Just to highlight it a little bit more, this, if I hadn't written my page, this is the line L to L1. That is your axis. Everything should be symmetrical below it to above it. I hope this helped.